Hello guys from Plant Reviews, today 20th of June, first day of summer, and I'll talk now about Hippeastrum, the Hippeastrum Sonatini Balentino, also known as Amaryllis Sonatini Balentino. However, this is not really a true Amaryllis, even if it still belongs to the family Amaryllidaceae. Hippeastrum is a genus of about 90 species and more than 600 between hybrids and cultivars of perennials bulbous plants. They generally have quite large bulbs, as you can see in this Hippeastrum. This is the Hippeastrum chico that I recently purchased. And however, obviously the size varies according to the different varieties. This one in particular, the Valentino, has much smaller bulbs. They depending to the according to the species, they develop the flower stem first or the leaves first, or sometimes they develop at the same time. So really, it is not a feature that is very constant in this genus, especially because also they most of the times you can get hybrids rather than species. The flowers are usually red, however they can be purple, white or pink. They kind of resemble lilies, however they are, as I said, from a different species. They belong to the family Amaryllidaceae, together with Amaryllis. However, this is not closely related to Amaryllis. Hippeastrums come from mostly from South America, and is distributed only in the Americas anyway, while Amaryllis is a genus of South African species. They're also pretty different in the shape of the plant and the flower as well. Amaryllis is usually bloom in autumn, the Amaryllis belladonna, the one most common species, while the Hippeastrums usually they bloom in spring, when they spring and summer. However, considering the amount of species, obviously flowering time can change. This Hippeastrum, the name Hippeastrum was given by William Herbert and means night star. It is not known very well why there is big confusion between Amaryllis and Hippeastrum. However, the first species described by Linnaeus, Hippeastrum regina, was actually described by Linnaeus as Amaryllis regina. So this started probably the confusion between Hippeastrum and Amaryllis. The plant is usually, these plants are usually frost tenders, and that's the reason because usually you find most of the Hippeastrum, also called Amaryllis, in during Christmas in shops to be put as bulbs. Basically, most of the time you get this kind of bulbs, very big, and it is a plant that you plant in pots, keeping the top of the bulb just the top of the bulb above the surface, precisely as I planted, as you can see, my Amaryllis Balentino. However, while most of these plants are frost tender, there have been some selection on cultivars to make them hardier. Indeed, this Amaryllis Balentino is a hardy variety of Amaryllis. So this is one of the few you can not just grow as indoor ornamental plants, but you can actually cultivate in the garden. The Valentino is, as I said, a hardy hybrid. The bulbs of the Amaryllis Sonatini Balentino are usually about 8 centimeters in diameter, 6 to 8 centimeters in diameter. They are much smaller than than the usual Amaryllis is brought for Christmas, and the plant usually grows up to 40 to 60 centimeters tall, so it's not a hugely tall Amaryllis like many of the Christmas bought Amaryllis. Hippeastrums. I'm getting confused myself as well. However, actually, in a garden, this is, I think, it's a better feature because considering that the stem is much shorter, it allows the plant to be more resistant to wind and weather. So actually, I really think it's better suited to these shorter stems in comparison to most indoor amaryllis that, as you know, most of the time you really have to tie to a support, otherwise the flower stem will grow basically more horizontally than vertically. The inflorescence is in Hippeastrums usually is 40 to 70 centimeters tall, sometimes taller, as I said, in indoor varieties. However, this one is a bit shorter. The flowers in most Hippeastrums are about 10 to 12 centimeters in diameter, and as you can see, they are funnel shaped. You can see actually from the side the shape of this Hippeastrum, and as I said, they are funnel shaped, but they open nicely, as you can see, and the color is absolutely gorgeous in the Sonatini. You can see how vivid is the red color and the white stripes in the center of the tepals, fading in a green center. Is absolutely wonderful. The flower itself also is smaller than most Christmas evoked Hippeastrums. Is about I would say 8 to 9 centimeters in diameter, but I think the color really makes up for the small flower, and most of all the hardiness of this plant for the garden. The flowers basically are held horizontally on the flower scape, as you can see, and they can have up to 4 flowers per stem. Mine developed only 3 flowers per stem on 2 stems. The leaves are bright green, and they are born at the top of the bulbs, and they are not fully developed yet. In this plant, the flower stem actually usually develops first before the leaves, or at the same time of the leaves, as in this one. Unfortunately, some of the flowers, as you can see, has been one of the flowers being eaten by slugs, and the other one has been damaged a little bit by the rain. I tried to pollinate the first bloom I had a couple of weeks ago, but I don't think pollination is going great, because as you can see, the flower stem of the first plant is fading away. I'm not too sure if actually this variety is a fertile plant, because sometimes the hybrids can develop some sterility. Anyway, I will try again to pollinate these flowers. Bear in mind anyway that when you pollinate hybrids or varieties, it's not like when you pollinate through species. The offspring can vary a lot according to the genetics, to the genes inherited by the parents. So do not always expect in the offspring, in the plantlets, the same characteristics of the pollen parent and of the mother plant, of the seed pod parent, as in plants I should say. The fruit in Amaryllis are capsules that are trilobed. You can actually see, even if these seed pods are going very probably to be aborted, as I said, you can actually see the trilobed shape in in this feature. So you can see the 1, 2 and the third lobed here. The flower capsule is very similar to a relative of the Hippeastrum, the Sprechelia formosissima, the Aztec lily, that is actually a pretty close relative to the Hippeastrum, and has been also hybridized with the Hippeastrum species, leading to the genus Hippeastralia. anthers are, as you can see, are bright yellow, while the stigma is trilobed. I'm not too sure if I can focus on the stigma. Yeah, I think you can actually see this grayish part on the on a long stem. This is a stigma, while the fully yellow anthers are the male part. So what I would do is just take some pollen from the anthers and just spread it around on the stigma. 1 second, I try to focus on the stigma. Okay, hopefully. Yeah, and now you can see that the stigma is fully yellow. So I will see if this flower will develop any seed pod. I'm not too sure. Anyway, but it's always nice to try, and well, I will try to also to pollinate the other flower as well. You can actually see better in this flower the trilobed stigma that now is pointing upwards. So I'll do the same. I will just spread some pollen. Hope you can see what I am doing. It's always hard to pollinate, well, to hold a mobile and do the videos alone. Anyway, you can now see that the trilobed stigma is now pollinated, and obviously this is self-pollination. I use precisely the same plant. Usually the self-pollination is less successful than cross-pollination. However, my only other plant has been completely eaten, mostly eaten. The flower has been mostly eaten by the slugs, obviously, and they ate also the anthers and the stigma. I mean, the petals wouldn't have been at all a problem as long as the anthers and stigma were still saved, but the slugs managed also to eat the anthers and the stigma. So obviously this flower is completely useless from a reproductive point of view, and I would say also for ornamental point of view. The Amaryllis, sorry, the Hippeastrum Balentino, as I said, is a gorgeous, as you can see, is a gorgeous color, very bright scarlet red with central lines of white and a green center. However, unfortunately, this plant is not fragrant. Still, I think the color is so nice, and you see the flower, even if it's not as big as Christmas box Amaryllis, is still quite a nice size, and I would say that this makes a beautiful addition to a garden, especially considering that red flowers are not very common in most gardens, especially among bulbous plants, and I really think it's a very nice addition. So about the hardiness of this plant, it is hardy up to USDA Zone 7, so it's hardy in most of the United Kingdom. So you would not have any problem in cultivate this plant in the United Kingdom, as well as most parts of Europe, Asia and North America, as well as the temperate areas of South America, South Africa, Southern Africa and Australia and New Zealand. As cultivation requirements, this plant, as many bulbous plants, need a very well drained soil and full sun. It will really thrive in full sun, as many bulbous plants, including the not so close relative Amaryllis belladonna. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you would like to support my channel, that would be great if you can please subscribe, and I hope to see you next time with my next video about flower, plants or fruits. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you hopefully next time. Bye.